Deshaun Watson has been suspended 6 games by Judge Sue Robinson. Matthew Peterson from the Cleveland Browns Report here at Chat Sports, breaking all of this down, plus looking at the new quarterback in Cleveland for the first 6 weeks of the season, Jacoby Brissett. We've got a lot to unpack on today's show. This has been a day all Browns fans have been waiting for. Whether it's good or bad news, I think we can all agree at least the news is out. And at least we can finish speculating on what the suspension is going to be and the roller coaster and twists and turns of this story. Now, before we really jump into this breakdown here, I want you guys to get involved in the show. I want you to be the chat in Chat Sports. What is your one-word reaction to the Watson suspension? Expected, happy, upset, whatever it is, light up the comment section down below. Now, like everyone watching, maybe you heard it from a YouTube push notification from the Browns Report, but the news came in from Adam Schefter. Former federal judge Sue L. Robinson has found that Deshaun Watson violated the personal conduct policy and has suspended him 6 games. A lot to break down there. I think the first thing we're going to note is that the NFLPA and the NFL can appeal this decision from Sue Robinson. Now, the NFLPA came out yesterday and said, we're not going to appeal it no matter what it is. We have to wait for the NFL. Is 6 games enough for them? Or are they going to appeal this, send it to Roger Goodell, and he might tack on more games? I'm predicting they're not going to appeal it. What kind of precedent does that set? If the first case like this under the new CBA, you just revert back to the old ways and appeal it to Goodell, that doesn't seem like we're moving forward at all. And I also think it's important to note that this was put down because of the owners, who, by the way, are Goodell's boss. They're not going to be very happy if the thing they push for, which is an arbitrator, just gets bypassed the first time they use it. Now, I think there's another interesting tweet I want to share here from Tom Pelissero that is relatively important to Deshaun Watson. So, Deshaun, if you're watching this, I'm sure you've heard. So the discipline for Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, pending a possible NFL appeal, 6-game suspension, no additional fines. That's also important to note. The NFL is not going to, or she decided not to fine him, Sue Robinson, for the games that he sat out last year with the Texans and was not fined for. Robinson's decision also requires no massages other than directed by club personnel and no adverse involvement with no law enforcement. So an interesting wrinkle to the suspension. Not only 6 games, but no more going to strip malls and going and get massages from whoever you want. It's got to be under the guidance of the team. So that's pretty important for Deshaun right there. But let's look at the first 6 games of this season, because this is going to be Jacoby Brissett's team for weeks 1 through 6. At Carolina against Baker, most likely. I don't think Darnold's going to win that job. But week 2 is going to be the home debut against the Jets. We've been talking about the 6, 8, whatever X amount of game suspension it could have been for a while. I think all of us were pretty confident that if it's 6 games, Jacoby Brissett minimum should be able to go 3-3. I mean, just looking at the schedule right now, if you want to compare rosters paper to paper, the Browns are only going to be underdogs probably in 1.5 games. Like the Chargers, no doubt, even with Deshaun Watson, it's not a slam dunk win. This is a Super Bowl roster Chargers team like the Browns, but they've got a good squad there in LA. Patriots, that was an ass kicking last year, but I think the Patriots got worse this year. But still, you never want to count on beating Bill Belichick. But I think 4-2 is in the cards for Jacoby Brissett. I predicted a 6-game Watson suspension yesterday. I put my money where my mouth is. I'll say Brissett goes 4-2. Starts off 3-0. Letdown game against the Falcons, because that would just be the most cruel thing ever to Browns fans. And then week 5, lose against the Chargers and probably lose against the Patriots. That's kind of what I'm feeling right there. Now, speaking of Jacoby Brissett, what is your confidence level in him? Scale 1 to 10. This is going to be today's pinned comment. So if YouTube puts an ad break right when I'm done talking, take advantage of it. Put a number down below. Let's check out some of Jacoby Brissett's stats. So going back to 2019, that's the last time he played as a starter for a full season, essentially. Started 15 games for the Colts, went 7-8. those are backup quarterback stats. I don't want anyone to be misguided here. Jacoby Brissett is a very good backup quarterback. Keyword backup, though. For all backup quarterbacks, he's on the Mount Rushmore of 2022 NFL backup QBs. But let's not be misguided here and act like Jacoby Brissett is going to be in Canton, Ohio for his backup quarterback role. He's a good backup, but he is a backup quarterback. Last year for the Dolphins, he made 5 starts in Miami when Tua got hurt. He also came in for a couple games, but I don't think it's all that fair to him to use stats from a game he entered in the third quarter when he just got tossed in the fire. But when he had a whole week of practice to prepare to start, that's what he produced. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's going to hold on to the football. He's not going to turn it over that much. And that's something that Stefanski will be delighted to see. Unlike last year where Mayfield pushed the envelope one too many times, right? That Packers game. Brissett, he's not that kind of risk taker. He's going to hold on to the football, probably a second too long, and it's going to come at a price of not, missing out on plays and whatnot. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a good opportunity for Jacoby Brissett and the Browns to show, under these circumstances, he can be a very serviceable backup. He can step in and he can go 4-2. I think that's very much in the cards. Now, 4-2, I think puts you on a good course to stay competitive in the AFC. Because the AFC is going to be tough this year. There's no doubt about that. But for Deshaun Watson to return Week 7 at Baltimore and then make his home debut Week 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals on Halloween night, that's going to be fun. It's never going to be easy playing the Ravens, home or away. But you got to envision that Ravens game. It's going to be Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Tony Romo is going to be, he'll have to have his pants changed mid-game after Deshaun Watson, the magician, makes another amazing play here. Now, I do believe that the Browns can, put up still a great season, even if Jacoby Brissett does start the first 6 weeks. Before we get to more analysis and breakdown here, I invite you all to subscribe to the channel. If you're coming across this for the first time, or you have, a little iffy on whether or not you should hit that sub button, 24/7 Browns news and rumors coverage, because guess what? Not many other YouTube channels are waking up with you guys at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, breaking down the Deshaun Watson news, getting live for you. So make sure you click that subscribe button and get locked in for the best Browns coverage out there on YouTube by going to youtube.com/Browns Report, or even simpler than that, just clicking that sub button. I think it's important to note the difference between Baker versus Brissett in terms of what Baker did last year for the Browns and what Jacoby Brissett did back in 2019, because if the Browns were able to go 6-8 last year with that kind of production from Baker, with Jacoby Brissett, they should be able to go 500 or better with 18 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I would still take Baker over Brissett. I'm not saying Jacoby Brissett's a better quarterback, but an injured Baker versus a healthy Brissett might still lean a little bit towards Baker in terms of like a whole season. But for 6 games, I'll ride with Brissett, right? That's fine with me. Now, some more Deshaun Watson news I think it's important to get across here. Watson can play and practice with the team during training camp and the preseason. He can return to the team facility after week 3. So he, once the season starts, will not be hanging out, will not be in Berea for the first 3 weeks of the season. But after week 3, he can return to the team, return to the facility, practice and whatnot. So he'll be able to start getting ready with the team for the first for that Falcons game. Now, what will be interesting to see though, what does Stefanski do for the preseason? Does he play Watson during the preseason? Stefanski has earned an MO of not wanting to see much starters play in preseason and risk an injury. We're also talking about a quarterback who didn't play last year. Inevitably, he's got to get some rust off, and he's got to get up to speed on Cleveland Browns football and this new team and new playbook and all that. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Browns practice today. What's the splits going to look like between Brissett and Watson, right? Will it be 60-40 Brissett? 50-50? That's something I'm going to keep an eye on for, no doubt about it. Let's look at the Browns schedule one more time, except just the 10 games, and now we get to see the handoff of Brissett for the first 6 weeks. Week 7 will be Deshaun Watson's debut at Baltimore. Week 8, home debut against the Bengals. That's a Monday Night Football game on Halloween. They get the bye after that. And then Week 10, they go down to Miami. Now, you might notice kind of the teeth of the schedule is with Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, it's not even a limb. I'm going to go out and say the NFL probably saw this coming back when the schedule dropped a couple months ago, and they wanted Deshaun Watson to play for the Bills and for the Bucks game later in the season against Brady and Josh Allen. So I think it's very deliberate that the NFL decided, yeah, let's put some of those big, TV games later on in the season and not have it loaded with Jacoby Brissett in Week 4 when we could be making a ton of money off that game later on. But now that the news is out and Jacoby Brissett is the starter for the first 6 weeks of the season, what are your Browns record predictions? I'm going to go with 11-6. I think that's probably in the cards for the Browns this season. I think if Jacoby Brissett goes 3-3, 4-2, the Browns are still very much alive. It's going to be a tough AFC this year, but I think the expectations are still playoffs, right? I don't want to see people in January go, well, you also had Brissett for the first 6 weeks. Yeah, this roster is one of the best rosters, if not top 5 in the NFL. They should be able to go 3-3, 4-2 with Brissett, which is very fine for Deshaun Watson to step in and take this team to the playoffs. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, if you are looking for more Browns Twitter coverage at Matthew Petey. Quick shameless plug right there. Trying to grow my Twitter followers right there. So help me out by following me at Twitter at Matthew Petey.